Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. So now we'll be using this branch called personal chat, where I've used this layout from Dermas. You can go ahead and check him out. So basically we'll be building this friend list where you can choose your particular friend, and when you choose it, it will create a chat room between you and the receiver or a friend, and then you can chat between only the two users. So let's start building it. So as you can see from this working.png, we need to push this email, UID and name to a child called friends. So let's check in this register, and this will be my working layout. So in register ref, where we'll get this ref, which will be linking to this Firebase database, and it will create a child called friends if it isn't created or it has been created, and then it will push this email, UID and name. So let me just copy them. So right here, and just put this function, and now we'll be looking to this spoiler.js. We need to put up this touchable opacity below chat room. So let me just copy it and I'll explain. Apparently this logout isn't needed, but I'll just show you for your easiness. So for touchable opacity, we'll be creating this friend list. Sorry, we have already created this friend list. We need to create this friend list. So on clicking it, we'll navigate to friend list, which will be showing the friends we have assigned in the register just now, and in button, which on press will then sign out and then navigate to login. So let me just create this new file called friend list. Now as we are going to create this friend list, to assign it in this app.js, we'll also be creating this chat, but I may forget it, so I'll copying it right here. So we'll be looking it in later. So just go into this friend list and friend list. Let me just copy it as a whole and I'll explain with this working.png right here. So as you had already seen, there's spoiler which gave us text input and navigated us to GloChat. So on friend list navigation, it will show us this data source ListView, which we have defined it in here, which is right here, data source for creating a new list view, which will check for row 1 and row 2. So what it means is, so suppose we have created a user and we are now checking it out. So we don't want the friend to be created twice, so it will just check it, and then it will check, put the state of loading to true, and then it will get the child from friends, which we have assigned from that register.js, which is being linked from getref, just like the register.js. So now so we have already reached this state. So let me just go into this component mount. So component mount will be looking for this listen for items, which is right here, which will send this dot friends ref, which we have defined it in here, which will be getting the reference from friends. And then in listen for items, it is defined as friends ref, which is that, and we have created this user which will be taking the current user, that means the user which is accessing the app. And then on friends ref, which is defined right here, and if it catches certain value, it will be assigned as snap, which I have defined it right here. So set user as current user is all done, and it will check for this child and then put it as snap, and then it will assign snap for each, which will be taken as a child, you can name it whatever you want, and then it will check if the user which is accessing it, which is here, give it to you from here, and the child which is caught from the friend. So as the user which is accessing this app, and also the users which are in the friend list doesn't need to be same, cause it will be the same user, so it doesn't need to be shown in this friends. So it will create this item and then put this item values from child to into this items. So basically what it's doing is it will just be used for set state of data source, which we have defined it here, which is taking this list view for rows, and then it will put this data source and clone with rows for items. So what it's doing is it will take the items from this child child friends, and this clone with rows item will check for this and just look into this friends and just give us this layout of friend 1, friend 2, friend T. So this has already been done, so we'll be looking into this render view. So render view is right here, which will be showing us this my friend's text, and will give us this list view where data source is it getting it from the state of data source, which is right here, data source, and then on render row it will go into this render row, which basically means it will show which particular rows which is being defined from render row. So this render row will show us this view for image, which I have used as default from GAvatar. You can use from Facebook or any other social media, and for text it will be getting this other value which I'll be explaining now. So render row basically means suppose I have a list and I need to choose a particular friend to chat. So if I click on the user, this render row will cast that particular data and just throw us this row data. So this row data will return us this touchable opacity, that is on press. So if we just press the user, it will just catch up this name, email, UID from this row data which we have defined it in top right here, and then just put up this name, email, UID, and then navigate to chat with this value of name, email, UID, which we have caught from this here, and this has been also defined in this state, which is here, name, UID, and email. So this is different from this. So this var name, UID, email is catching this row data, which is right here, and this name, emails, UID is getting it from this set state, and it will catching it. So what this Friendlist is doing is it is just doing nothing but just showing us this data source for lists, which will just catch the users from this friend list, friends ref, and just get in this items and put it in this item as this values. So what this layout is doing is it is just catching this data source, which will show us the list view of the friends we have in this ref, which is defined this in this child for friends, and this items will be getting each and every friend in this friends ref, and then clone with the items in this. So this loading false will only be used for the spinner. So when the values are being fetched from the server, it will just be defining it's right here with server call to get user inside friends and put in data source. So it isn't working. So put in header to log out and log in, navigate to login, which we have defined it in this static navigator, where you also have this option for logging out within friends list, similar to this spoiler.js. And then so render view will show us this text and then just give us the list of friends. And now we have already clicked this row data. We have selected the friend we want to chat with, which it will be getting at this items and we're navigating the chat. So just create a new file called Chat.js, and now we'll be working on it, which we have already defined in this app.js for navigation. Don't forget to link it here. So let's look into it. Let me give you this visual explaining. So this has been defined in this GloChat, where you enter your name and chat room is already been defined. So from boiler we'll be getting this friend list to click and this logout to log out and go into this login state. So clicking on this friend list, this spinner is now going into this friend ref. So what we have reached is, we just go into this component mount, listen for items, and this listen from items has fetched this friends ref, and all these items has been assigned and each value has been fetched and then set to this data source. And as you can see, this many users I have already created, and now we need to just click the particular user and then go into this chat state. So now in Chat.js, let me just copy them and explain. So this gifted chat is being imported and stack navigator is imported because we need to fetch these values, which you have defined it in here, name, email, and UID. Do check if you have this particular imports. And now in chat, so we have defined this user, which will be using this auth for current user, similar to this layout of this var user, and then just console logging it. We don't actually need to, just for my checking. And then we have defined this params as this.props.navigation state. So what it's doing is, it is defining this params dictionary, which will be getting the states of navigation and state. So I have defined this UID, name, and email right here, which will be fetching this params of UID, name, email, which we got from our friend list, which we have defined it in here. Which we have defined it in here. So now we have defined this chat ref, which will be getting getref.child, similar to that which we used in this register.js, where we have defined this chat and we'll generating a particular chat ID. So basically we are creating a chat room for 2 users only. So from this generate chat ID, this .user.uid, which we have defined it in user, and UID, which we are using for friend. If it is greater, the generate chat ID will be defined as UID user ID minus friend user ID. Otherwise, it will define as friend UID minus this .user.uid. So let me explain from this work.png, which we have caught up to the state where row data is checked, and on place will navigate with this row data name, email, and UID. And we have already defined this, which are right here, and it will just check for the user ID if it is greater or not. And if it is greater, this user ID will be the forward one and the UID of friend will be backward one, otherwise just the reverse. And now we'll be going to this component mount. So it is same as that of friend list. It will just go into this listen for items, which will fetch this chat ref data, which we have defined it here, where it will just chat ref for order by child, where order by child will do nothing, but it will just order the layout of chat as order, which we have to define. So let's move into it, where it will just listen for items chat ref data. So this is chat ref data, which we have defined it from here. So if it catches a value, then it will define into this snap, where we have defined this items similar to that of friend, and then we'll for each will create a child, not create, we'll just put up a child, and items push, it will just create this ID text tweeted at and user, where ID will be just check for this created at, and created at will just take up this time, and text will be fetched from this user, and then user ID will be using this chat user ID of friend. So what it's doing is, suppose we have already chatted it and exit from the app, we need to fetch the data which I have already pushed in the server. So it is just pushing the value which we have got from this chat ref data, which is just doing nothing but taking the order of this chat from this chat ID, where the two users have already chatted, and just we are listing this values which are already in the server to this items, and set state of loading to false, and this items will be assigned in this messages which we have defined it here. So now we need to look into this render view. So render will just take the scripted chat. So messages will be taking from this state of message, just I have defined it. This messages will be caught from this items, and on send this dot on send dot point, which we have to define here, which we have already pushed as bind here too. So now as we have already texted on the put up text in this text field, and now we need to send it just like in the GloChat. So on send it will catch message, and if it catches a message, it will, for each of the messages which have been caught, it will put the obvious message of for messages. And now we'll be fetching the date of today and put up this get time, and just into this chat ref which we have defined it in here for child and generate chat ID. So between the two users, the particular chat room will be getting this ID text created at UID. So message.text, which will be getting it from here, and now we have defined it here, created at now, and UID will be the UID of the user, and order is defined as now in reverse condition so that it is in good layout in the server. So let me explain you visually. So we are in this friend list, and on tapping into this particular friend, we'll be fetching the UID, name and email, and moving to this Chat.js. So let me just click it here. So I sent this text, so it has gone in the server. What if we have already chatted and the user has also been chatting? So I am chatting with this user right here. So now I'll explain. So it just did nothing but this I have already explained. So generate chat ID has generated a chat ID between the user which I am. So let me just take it as example. RA minus, which is the user, and this Susan will be the user I am chatting with, which will be my friend. So it will just generate a chat ID between him and me right here, and then it will order it in the server, and then it will listen for the items from this chat ref. So this chat ref has defined and just create these items, and it will snap up each child and just push into this array. So it has caught up this did, good, goals, so, and now it has set up the state from this component mount, and now we are in this scripted chat. So let me just click it and type something. So we are already fetched these messages, and now if we tap on this send, it will go into this on send, and on send will catch the message which is right here, and for each it will just put this now and just put this chat ref for push, and the time and the user, which is me, will be checked and sent to this server for this chat ref. So now we'll be looking into this server. So now this get ref, which was pushing us this email, UID and name in this friends. So in friends, we have pushed up this many users which are getting this email, name and UID. So it's been done, eh? So now we need to be looking in this chat, which we have defined it in here. For chat, we have generated this many, where this generate chat ID will be generating chat ID between the two users, already seen. So let me just show you this recent example where we just look in this, sent this user ID which we are generated between the two users, and I just recently sent this text with the user ID and order, and with this order which I have defined as minus, so just reversing it right here as an order. So this first text was did and the recent text was this. So as you have seen this layout, and the chat has been working. Now we need to be building this push notification, which I'll be explaining in the next video. So see you next time. Survive.